Hello, sir.
Hi, Vaibhav.
Welcome back to the podcast. And in the raining season, I hope that you don't live in an area in Delhi NCR where you saw a lot of flooding in last few days.
Actually, I'm living in Gurgaon,
Okay,
and
so that makes you more probable.
interestingly, some parts of Gurgaon are also flooded,
Yeah,
but not specifically the area where I live, which is more planned in nature.
yeah. But it is surprising that Gurgaon and similar places like that, which have uh, come into existence in last 1 or 2 decades,
Hmm.
where the expectation is that they would have good urban infrastructure,
Infrastructure.
they would get good have they would have good sewage supply lines and everything. Interestingly, these are the areas which get flooded early on, and you can see that in last few days. It's just not about Delhi. Many of the urban areas in India as well as in Northeast have seen so many floods. There is a forecast of Northeast flooding in the coming days from now. So, as a person who teaches flooding and urban flooding and keeps updated,
Yes, yes.
uh, what is this phenomenon of urban flooding?
Actually, before we come to the idea of urban floods, Vaibhav,
Hmm.
first we shall have a general idea about that what flooding is.
Flooding is, yes.
So, flooding simply means that overflow of water over the land-based dry areas. Now,
Okay.
that overflow can occur out of the river,
Yes.
or it can occur out of the sewage lines, what you mentioned also in the dry land.
Overflowing of sewage lines.
Overflowing of the sewage will lead to what?
That is right.
Inundation of the dry land areas,
Yeah.
and it is referred to as flooding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whenever this overflow occurs in the urban areas,
Yes.
then specifically you will call it as urban floods.
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, in general, the wording flood is utilized.
Yes.
You have seen in the case of Uttarakhand
Mm-hmm.
that Ganga river is often flooded,
Yes.
but you never take this terminology urban floods,
Mm-hmm.
because this overflowing is not specifically going on in the urban areas only, but
Yeah.
in general in the non-urban regions also.
Yeah. So, I mean, flood has always existed as a hazard in the human civilization. We see a lot of traces of urban flooding in ancient
Definitely in the
civilizations also.
there also.
Why it has become problematic is because you can see that for the first time, probably in the existence of human civilization, so many people are living in such a concentrated way in a small area.
Yes, actually, flooding has multiple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, flooding in which particular area we are talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that will define the reasons.
Yeah.
So, when we are talking about the urban floods, I'll come to that part also.
Yes.
We'll explain to you in detail the reasons behind it and other ways also that
Sure.
how you can handle it.
Yes.
But in general, before I go to the specific case of urban flooding,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be discussing the part
Mm-hmm.
that why in the non-urban areas the flooding will occur.
Yeah.
Probably some dimensions definitely
Will
can
overlap.
flow,
Mm-hmm.
overlap definitely with the urban areas
For
also.
sure. Yeah.
So a very prominent example which comes to my mind when we talk about floods
Mm-hmm.
was one of the grave disaster became international news also
Mm-hmm.
in 2018 Kerala floods,
Kerala floods. Correct.
which was not only impacting the urban areas
Mm-hmm.
but the almost the whole of the state of Kerala.
Mm-hmm.
And looking into the reasons for the Kerala floods,
Mm-hmm.
so initially we thought that it is the incessant rainfall
Right.
in Kerala, the monsoonal rainfall,
Mm-hmm.
which was responsible for the flooding
Sure.
and was the only reason. That was the initial thought.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was blaming IMD
Hmm.
because in the last podcast we discussed that the
Failure
forecast,
of the
failure of the
IMD to be able
forecast.
to predict. Hmm.
Yes. So in that particular year also IMD failed to predict
Hmm.
the exceptionally high amount of monsoonal rainfall in Kerala.
Right.
And Kerala authorities clearly mentioned that it is your part that
Mm-hmm.
because of your failure of forecast,
Mm-hmm.
we have witnessed the disaster
Right.
of Kerala floods in 2018.
Correct.
But delving deeper into this particular issue, when this case was studied in detail
Mm-hmm.
by Indian authorities,
Yeah.
they found some lacking parts on the Kerala authority side also.
Right.
Because Kerala is having lots of reservoirs, and this
Yeah.
reservoirs is having a
Like
capacity.
wetlands.
Yes,
So there
reservoirs,
are
dams and
many
reservoirs are
Ramsar
there.
sites.
These
Apart from that, there are multiple wetlands,
wetlands are
backwaters.
also there.
And so the idea is that if you have a lot of wetlands, they are supposed to act as a sponge. That whenever there is extra supply of water, these wetlands should be able to absorb or hold on to the extra water, and that is why you should have more number of wetlands.
But problem is that water which was coming to this wetlands, let's say Vembanad Lake,
Right.
for which NASA published the picture also.
Correct.
Size of this Vembanad Lake doubled overnight.
Oh.
So much of excessive water flow was there in Vembanad Lake from the
Mm-hmm.
reservoirs of Kerala Western Ghat region,
Correct.
because of the reason that reservoirs were having the less capacity in Western Ghats. Lots of siltation was there,
Yeah.
and Kerala authorities were not clearing that particular
So
silt.
the similar problem happened in Chennai flood also. I've seen that image where 40 years ago, Chennai had around more than 200 wetlands
All of them,
or small lakes.
almost all of them has been destroyed.
All of them have been encroached upon. Human
Definitely.
settlement has come up, and so when the extra water flows into a city, there is no way for the water to go. There's
Go.
no
Yes, definitely.
and the entire area is concretized, so probably it cannot go even into the
Into
groundwater.
the groundwater. But
Yeah.
in Kerala, one of the major issue
Yes.
up till 2018 was
Mm-hmm.
not just with the forecast of IMD which failed,
Yes.
but Kerala authorities did not clear the silt of the dams and reservoirs there. So
Mm-hmm.
they were having less capacity to store water.
Yeah. So
So when the
that.
rainfall started, overflow was about to initiate, and to avoid that, they had to open up all the gates, and immediately so much of water rushed into the low-lying areas, which is wetlands, example Vembanath Lake and Asthamudi Lake,
Right.
that this lake swelled,
Mm.
means doubled in size. And not only that, because of the tourism purpose, many hotels, housing communities has been constructed nearby to the lake waters.
Correct. The way I can conceive it is that the problem is not flooding. The problem is that humans occupying the flood prone areas. So probably you should
Yes,
not enter into the traditional flood prone areas.
this is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That natural increase in the water level, it will be
It
there,
will
and
happen.
it was there.
Yeah, it has always existed.
But it is your choice
Yes.
of whether you want to live in that area or not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's consider an example of last year in Delhi.
Yeah.
This low-lying areas, Kashmiri Gate and Income Tax Office, ITO building, all this is the floodplains of Yamuna, which has been extensively
Massively.
utilized for the urban infrastructure, building
That's
space
correct.
and all.
Yeah.
And you have seen
So it's like going and sitting down over a volcano and then complaining that because of the volcano burst out, and that's.
So this is one perspective for floods.
Yeah.
But
But then, sir, just to stop you there, you mentioned about siltation of dams, and that's what brings us to a very pertinent question of dam management.
yes,
So, for example, there are a lot of issues that the dam face in India right now. So, for example, a lot of the dams, probably major dams, are older than the Britishers. I mean, older than the independence.
yes, definitely.
One of the most, and so
Mulla Periyar Dam.
Mulla Periyar, for example, is 100 years old. And
Yes,
so
definitely.
similarly, most of the dams were either constructed during British times or they were constructed in first or second decade within that period after independence.
Some of them have been constructed after independence also. Some
Yeah.
of them are very old, belonging to the British
Correct.
times.
So the problem is that there are so it's like a ticking disaster to have waiting to happen, just like we have collapsing roofs
But
of airports and everything. So, for example, the infrastructure, the structure is old and dilapidated. So that is the problem. I don't think we are spending a lot of money in renovating the dams.
actually, renovation of dams can be one of the solution. But this is the governance bottleneck we have in our
Governance bottleneck. And then second, we do not have any centralized authority to keep a track of almost every dam. So there is, so for example, if I want to look at what is the level of dam in, let's say, any particular dam in India, what is the water level right now, what is the rainfall expected, and what water level change will come as a result of a particular. So it is basically the people who are posted there, it's their common sense and their experience that we are relying upon.
Definitely.
And the problem is that in a particular river stream, there are, let's say, 5 to 7 dams.
Series of dams.
Series of dams.
Series
So
of
the
dams
question is there any mechanism which provides them to coordinate
to coordinate. But
opening of gates and closing of gates?
But usually when the dam is about to overflow,
Yeah.
they are supposed to open the gates, otherwise dam will collapse.
Dam will collapse.
Because dam cannot store the water beyond its capacity.
Yes.
And there is a risk level
Mhm.
beyond which if the water goes.
No, I'm asking you, is there any centralized coordination
No,
mechanism?
because this
And
water
see-
is not the central subject.
Yeah.
It is
But
following
interstate water is.
interstate disputes are going on
Yeah.
for the rivers. You have
Mhm.
seen that.
Mhm.
One of the prime reason is that it is falling in not into the central list.
Mhm.
That's the main reason.
Mhm.
And they're forming tribunals to resolve these disputes and all.
Yeah.
But core idea is that whenever it comes to dam management,
Mhm.
governance is one aspect,
Mhm.
but other aspects, physical aspects are also there.
Right.
Siltation, what I mentioned,
Mhm.
it was going on because reckless illegal mining was going on in the Kerala Western Ghats.
Okay.
Illegal mining.
So-
And mining means that deforestation.
That would create the burst of silt into the water being carried on.
100%.
That would
because
also slow down the water, increasing the chances of flood.
in whenever the rainfall will occur
Yeah.
in the area which is undergoing deforestation,
Mm-hmm.
the soil is loose.
Right.
Along with the flow of the water,
Mm-hmm.
silt and soil, everything goes into the reservoir,
Right.
slowly and gradually deposits there. So,
Mm-hmm.
one particular solution which Kerala authorities would have resorted to
Yes.
is to check this illegal mining. And
Mm.
the second set of solution is clearing the silt instead of just blaming IMD that you did not give a proper forewarning.
Yeah, so for warning for mining that you mentioned, we have already Gadgil panel recommendation, Kasturi Rangan
Kasturi
panel,
committee recommendation,
which has, but then that was
which
heavily opposed by the Kerala government and the local people also, which talked about completely almost banning the mining on the Western Ghats.
in both the
So
reports, it was clearly mentioned.
yes,
Though definitely Gadgil committee report was a bit biased because it was
yeah,
trying to declare entire Western Ghats into
entire
the
Western Ghats, yes,
eco-sensitive zone.
yes,
But Kasturi committee report was a
was a
bit balanced,
balanced,
and it was talking practically also
yes,
that check the mining immediately, not only just because of to save the you can say species in that area,
right,
but to avoid these type of disasters
mm-hmm,
and see what has happened. So mining activities which were going on in the Kerala Western Ghat became one of the prominent reason
mm-hmm,
for reducing capacity of reservoirs, and finally disaster occurred.
that is correct.
So what we can see that floods do not occur just because of the high rainfall,
Mm-hmm.
but it is the human intervention is also there
So you're
somehow.
saying that from an era where most of the disasters were completely natural,
Hmm.
we are looking at an era where most of the disasters are anthropogenic in nature, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah.
See, man-made intrusions are there.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you talk about the construction in the low-lying areas, this is
Right.
human interference. Siltation
Mm-hmm.
of the reservoir, human interference. Construction of reservoirs is human interference.
Right.
Mining, human interference. So high rainfall previously was there in Kerala also,
Mm-hmm.
and it will continue in future also.
Mm-hmm.
But how we are handling the situation at the ground level,
Mm-hmm.
what type of interference we are making to the nature of that particular area
Mm-hmm.
is something what is the prime reason for the flood occurrence in the given region.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, in the urban floods also, whenever you check out these urban areas, last year Delhi floods were there, and it was because of the overflow of the water from Yamuna
Mm-hmm.
when Haryana released the waters from Hatnikund barrage.
Yeah, that's what I was talking.
Then
Dam management.
low-lying areas were flooded.
Mm-hmm.
You say that okay, parts of Delhi has been flooded.
Hmm.
Now that has to be kept as a floodplain of Yamuna.
Right.
So it is our, you can say, problem, and
Lack of
it is
planning and
it is our lack of
in
planning that
enforcement.
you have included the low-lying areas for the construction of infrastructure there.
Hmm. So, sir, now that brings us back to the question of urban flooding as to what are all the reasons behind urban flooding.
When I look at the core reason for the urban floods,
Mm-hmm.
it is because of the mismatch between the population persisting in urban areas, specifically metropolitans. I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the tier 2 cities.
Mm-hmm.
Population is excessive,
Right.
but the available basic civic amenities
Mm-hmm.
are not in consonance with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
All
this
right.
population pressure is so high
Mm-hmm.
that whatever facility you will provide here,
Hmm.
be it let's say the sewage lines to flush out extra water, be it sewage treatment plants up to so on,
Right.
everything will seems to be insignificant in front of the rising population base of urban
So you're saying
areas.
that demand for infra is so such high at
And it is
it,
increasing
it
exponentially.
is increasing at such a high rate that the supply is not able to match it up.
Definitely, yes,
Mm.
definitely.
So no one could have thought that the place that you live in Gurgaon, so probably it was completely a village 20-25 years
Definitely,
ago.
that's where the name comes, Gurgaon.
Gurgaon,
Gurgaon, yeah.
Gurugram, and 2 decades down the line, you have I think 60 to 70 lakh people there.
Around approximately you can say, but there in Gurgaon, municipal corporation of Gurgaon is lacking in this part.
Mm-hmm.
They have not created the required infrastructure, that is sewage lines and all,
So
and
that
they have let it to the builders there, that whoever will construct the housing societies there will develop the basic civic infrastructure.
so that I also we cannot blame it completely to the inefficiency of the local bodies, because local bodies in India are not empowered. All of us know
Receiving
that.
lots of funds, Vaibhav, because you see the
Yeah.
registrations number of amount of stamp duty what they're receiving. They
Yeah.
have to spend this money in developing the city.
Mm-hmm.
Take an example from Noida.
Mm.
That Noida authority clearly mentioned that this time there is no waterlogging or flooding condition in Noida because we have already cleaned all the drains before the onset of monsoonal rainfall,
Mm.
which was actually missing in Delhi and Gurugram region this time. So what it takes to clean the sewage lines? Not much. Only the will is required. And that
Mm.
will, I see, it is lacking in both the areas.
Mm.
But Noida authority was doing very well in this regard.
Mm.
But population centralization in the urban areas, it will be the root reason for all the problems of
So
urban
so
areas.
what you are saying is that people in India's hinterland, in rural areas,
Hmm.
obviously they are not able to rely on agriculture, and so they understand that they have to move out of the villages.
Yes.
And so what you are saying is that instead of moving to the nearest urban center,
Hmm.
almost everyone is converging to the three or four or five large mega cities that we have. So Delhi, Mumbai, maybe Hyderabad,
Majorly
Kolkata, Bangalore.
to certain scale, people are coming from rural areas and settling here
Mm-hmm.
in the tier one cities, metropolitan cities.
Correct.
But population increment in these areas is primarily because of immigration from the tier two cities.
Tier 2 cities.
Because the
Like you
kind
have
of
come from tier,
yes,
and I have come from tier
definitely
2
100%.
cities.
We are also from the tier two
Yeah,
cities.
we are the example of the same
Yes.
urbanization
So
trend.
people of villages,
Mm.
majority of them, what they prefer that nearby town shall be my destination, so that
Mm-hmm.
I can commute with my village also. I can
Mm-hmm.
come on daily basis. I can live here,
Mm-hmm.
and if let's say I'm living in town, then on temporary basis, then I can go back to my home very easily.
Mm.
So just
So very few number of people migrate to
well
the large urban centers
from rural
from
areas.
rural areas, poor
Majorly, it is the people from the tier two
and
cities which
service
is
class.
having aspirations
Yes,
to grow further,
yes.
right? But this population increment in urban areas,
Mm-hmm.
which is going on exponentially,
Right.
led by immigration from
Mm-hmm.
tier two cities,
Mm-hmm.
is the prime reason or prime root cause of all the urban area problems persisting in metropolitan regions.
So, so what you're saying is that if there is a way to hold these people in tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, then maybe we will see a resolution to this problem. So, is there anything that the
To
government of India is doing to hold people like you and me in tier 2 or tier 3 cities?
recently, the focus has started.
Okay.
First, we have to look at the reason that why these people immigrate to metropolitan areas, the one
Mm-hmm.
which belongs to tier two cities.
Like higher education,
One of the reason,
better health,
healthcare facilities are better,
tertiary health,
educational opportunities are better,
job
job
opportunities
opportunities
in
are there,
service sector.
isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So multiple factors which are working as a pull factor
Mm-hmm.
for this population base of tier 2 cities are working in metropolitan areas.
Right.
So nowadays government is thinking from this perspective, why can't we create these pull factors of
Mm-hmm.
metropolitan in the tier 2 cities also?
Mm-hmm.
And for this reason they have declared many tier 2 cities as the smart cities,
Mm-hmm.
which are centric around developing the same type of facilities what Delhi and Bengaluru and Jaipur has.
Providing almost the same level of infrastructure, digital infrastructure, public
Yes,
infrastructure.
so that this immigration to metropolitan areas from
So
tier
you
2
don't
cities
feel
will
the
come
need
down.
to come to Delhi and Gurgaon necessarily. You can stay back in Indore as well
Definitely.
and enjoy the same level of basic
And in fact,
amenities.
Indore is
The
one of the
number,
cleanest city. You have
yes,
seen that how
yes.
good it is, isn't it? In
Mm-hmm.
fact, in Haryana also they are developing some smart city.
Yeah,
Reliance company is developing the
but
smart city.
when I read the newspaper, I see a lot of issues with the way smart city project is going on. So it's
Hmm.
not really everything is rosy and good over there. Also, I mean there are a lot of issues,
We just
joint
started,
ventures.
and it will streamline in the coming time period.
Hmm.
Because
But the idea is the same.
idea is in place, and we are
Mm-hmm.
trying to implement it,
Mm.
but not perfectly right now.
Of
But in
course.
the coming decades of time, when we go on with this approach,
Mm.
then definitely we can win the battle over the problems of urbanization in India.
Right. And what, so this is one of the ways. What are the other mechanisms or solutions to, so let's say, so you are able to hold back people, will not reduce the number. It might not.
Yes. Let's say the population will stay as it is,
Yeah.
then definitely your urban plan will function.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever you plan for any urban area,
Mm-hmm.
then you take a forecast for the population in future.
Right.
And if that forecast is going to fail, population is increasing exponentially,
Mm-hmm.
then your plan will also fail.
Right.
But if this population becomes stable, let's say
Mm-hmm.
not reducing but becomes stable also,
Mm-hmm.
then whatever urban plan you will create for the given urban region, it has very, very high chances of success. Whatever money you will spend will be rightly pointing to the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what in my opinion government can do, that they can go for mixed development.
Okay.
Community forestry approach is something what they can resort to.
Okay. What is
Because
community?
when I see these urban areas, Karol Bagh,
Mm.
Rajendra Nagar, this area where we are sitting right now,
Mm-hmm.
very rarely I see the green cover. Everywhere it is concrete.
Yeah, but in my opinion, Delhi is one of the most
Parts
greenest.
of Delhi,
Yeah, but overall,
overall,
compared to other similarly,
definitely
yeah,
overall as a
it's
city wise when you see.
overall it
But
is greener.
whenever you talk about the waterlogging and flooding problem in Delhi, it is
Mm.
not taking place everywhere.
Mm.
A specific part, South Delhi, let's say, the Hauj Khas area,
Mm.
and South Extension. And when you talk about, let's say, this Karol Bagh, Rajendra Nagar, you look at the situation of these areas, that how green they are.
Mm.
Very less green cover and more dominance of concrete is there.
Correct.
So in my opinion, government has to go for an urban plan in such a manner that mixed land use pattern they should
It's
adopt
promoted.
with vast space for the green cover, not in a specific area of the city, but in staggered manner at various pockets.
But sir, if you look at, so for example, you gave the instance of Rajendra Nagar. Now there is no place left. You cannot demolish the houses that are already built to create the
Definitely yes.
yeah.
You
So
cannot demolish.
yeah,
Uh,
so
that is
there is no space available as of now.
it.
So
This
the only solution is to increase the level of discharge capacity that the sewage has, so that it is able to
yes.
take out,
To flush out the water,
evacuate the flood water.
slope leveling is required.
You need to put a lot of mega
Many
size motors in order
many
to.
many urban areas, Weber, have been developed in such a manner that they are the downslope regions.
Hmm.
So
They're
whatever
like
water will
bowl.
this Karol Bagh Rajendra Nagar area is a downslope region.
Hmm.
Apart from this, the sewage lines are completely choked with plastic bags. Theoretically, government has banned the plastic bags, but practically when you go to market, everyone is getting a plastic bag in the shops itself.
Even now.
And eventually, over the course of time,
Mhm.
vast number of these plastic bags,
Right.
they enter into sewage lines, choke it, and whenever the monsoon rainfall starts, overflow occurs and flooding happens.
Hmm.
This was the major reason. Sewage line treatment and the more laying down of sewage lines, enhancing their capacity is something also has to be in cards, at least in the places where the scope of expansion of green cover is not there.
Where so as has always been the case, when we sit down, there are a lot of learnings. I hope even for the viewers, a lot of the things to be learned. Uh, this podcast is for general purpose, not
Definitely.
specifically tailor made for UPSC aspirant. It is just to so that the
General
things
awareness
that we do on
for
a daily
surrounding.
basis, it should be diluted and it should be put down for everyone's consumption. So what I see is that going forward, according to you, urban decentralization
Is one of the
is one of the solutions. Then strengthening the public infrastructure in urban areas.
In addition to that,
In addition to that,
yes,
and also what we need to do is that focus more on smart cities,
smart cities and expansion of the green cover through
green
the
cover,
change mixed land use
mixed
pattern.
land use pattern is the way out. And I think the government is also working along the same direction.
In same direction, but if we work on this in bits and pieces, that you are adopting only the mixed land use pattern but not expanding the infrastructure,
Right.
then the plan is going to fail.
Plan not going to work. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Vaibhav.
much for taking out time from your busy
Sure,
schedule.
Vaibhav.
Let's hope that disasters do not give us opportunity to do more and more podcasts.
Yes,
We should be
definitely.
doing podcasts on other topics.
Other topics also.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
sir.